Hey, you may have heard of this song Romanza. If you play nylon string, it's absolutely, I think, a mandatory piece. Everybody who plays nylon string should know this song. And even if you play fingerstyle on acoustic steel string, I think this is a great song to know as well. What I want to talk about in this video are the top 10 mistakes that I've seen students make when they play Romanza. And although, of course, we're talking about a specific song, some of these ideas are going to help you in every song that you play. Before I go any further, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is Romanza. That's the A section, here's the B section. So that's what Romanza sounds like if you haven't heard it before. It also, you'll see it under different names like Spanish ballad or Spanish romance or romance. But I think most often it's seen under the name Romanza. The first time I learned this was when I switched from electric to classical guitar, and my teacher, we were using this book among many other things, this old world favorite solos for classic guitar. So that's where I got my version. Most versions are pretty much the same, although some of them will vary a little bit there at the end when we play that B7 chord. And there's different ways to do that. But why this is such a great piece is, number one, it's such a beautiful piece. I still play it to this day. I've been playing it since I was 15 or 16 years old, and even today, if I had a wedding to go play to today and guests are arriving, I would be playing that song. It's easy, but it's not easy. There's definitely parts, especially in the second half of it, that can be quite difficult, and of course I didn't even play it perfectly myself there either. So there are some great challenges there. No matter how good your technique is, you can always play Romanza and be working on those finer things, or maybe adding some rest strokes here and there, which we'll talk about, and really kind of upping the ante on your technique. And there's so many things happening there that we see in so many other Spanish guitar pieces that it really can help us as kind of a template for future songs. What's also great about Romanza is that even if you're a beginner and you just started today, you can actually play a little bit of this song. If we take the thumb out and we just practice this motion of going ring, middle, index on those skinniest strings, the treble strings, most people can do that on day one. And we're moving our finger around on the first string. So it really, of course, when it gets to the bar part, I know that can be quite difficult for most people. But for the first couple of lines, somebody can be playing a song, or at least a nice little melody, from the first day, the first time they pick up their classical guitar. So I think that's pretty cool, and really can be encouraging to beginners that they're already playing something that sounds like a song and not an exercise. So if you're a teacher, I definitely recommend teaching Romanza. Like I mentioned earlier, even though we're talking about a specific song, these are tips and ideas that can help you for anything that you play. And that leads me to number 10 on my list of the top 10 Romanza mistakes to avoid, and that is inefficient fingerings. So the beginning of this seems so simple that we would think it doesn't really matter what finger you use. You could use your first finger like this. And that totally works. But if you do that, you're moving around so much more than you need to, and this is a hugely important habit that we want to have, which is being efficient and not moving around when we don't have to. I've seen this fingering before, written in some books. Pinky. That's a good one. I like to use my ring finger though, because check this out. Now up until that point, you might think I played a lot of notes or that I moved a lot, but I only moved one time. I had my ring finger here, then I went to this A note, then I went down to this G on the 3rd fret, and I switched my finger out. And by the way, I never lost contact with the string there. That's really important too. And so now I made one motion to move, and now I play the next part. Everything's taken care of until I come back to this G note. And at this point I do have to move, but if I do it that way, I only moved one single time. Whereas if you use, let's say, your middle finger, there I had to move 3 times. And you might think, well, who cares? It's an easy song, or at least an easy part of the song at that point. But again, these are things that you want to get kind of in your subconscious so that you don't even think about them when you play. You want to be efficient. Earlier when I played the whole song, you might have seen me use my pinky here, pinky, pinky, and that looks like it's inefficient, right? And maybe it is inefficient, but the reason I'm doing that is I'm setting myself up for this bar that's coming up. So if you have a reason to do something that seems like you wouldn't normally do it, then that's good. Next mistake that I see quite a bit in Romanza is not playing the right number of melody notes. And it is kind of weird because this is a waltz. We're in 3/4 time and the melody goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if you notice what happened there, we're in groups, playing in groups of 3 or counting in groups of 3, but the melody happens 4 times. So that's an interesting thing about the song. It goes, even when I'm up here, 1, 2, 3, 1. There it was again. And so it's easy to get confused by that and not play 4 times or play even more than 4 times. So I think a great way to get the song down is to just play, let's just take your ring finger and play just the melody of the whole song. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Back to that same fingering I was talking about. So keep in mind that even though we're counting in groups of 3, the melody can happen very often in this song in groups of 4. The next Romanza mistake is playing a bass note on the wrong beat. This one's similar to playing the wrong number of melody notes. With our thumb, we are marking every single measure, so that's a great thing to keep in mind and a really great way to keep us on track. So I really do think that we should be counting this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 all the way through. And every time you say the number 1, your thumb should be playing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's a pulse there happening, the beginning of every measure. And that goes right along with your ring finger. 1, 2, 3. Your thumb and ring finger play at the same time. 1, 2, 1, 2. So if you end up playing the wrong number of melody notes, of course your thumb is going to be off too and everything goes haywire. So it's great to break this up into its constituent elements and just play the bass note only. And so you're thinking, well, I'm just going to sit around and just play this over and over. Well, yeah, you should, but have the melody in mind or hum it. Just doing that in your car and really getting used to how the song goes is such a great way to practice, and something that we never think about as guitarists. We think we have to have the guitar in our hands and we got to play, and then all the time that we could have used in our daily life to really get used to something or really familiarize ourselves with a song was wasted time, actually. So when you get a chance to actually have the guitar in your hands, a lot of the work, conceptually at least, has been done for you. The next Romanza mistake is an understandable one, and that is not bringing the melody note out enough. We want that note that our ring finger plays to last an entire beat. So it's not just that we're going this note, then that note, then that note. We want to hear this for an entire beat. So we should hear nice long legato notes. The trouble with that is that we're using our ring finger, which is a weak finger for everyone, weaker than certainly the index or the middle finger. So we have to tug a little harder on that note so that it lasts longer, so that it's louder, or be a little bit lighter on your other fingers so that the ring finger or melody note stands out more. It's tough, and it's really a sophisticated thing that's happening here. We have 3 voices going on. We have that melody. Those are quarter notes lasting 1 beat each. Then we have a dotted half note here with a thumb. Then we have 8th note triplets throughout that are kind of in the middle there. So really try to bring out that ring finger so that the melody notes sustain. Okay, the next couple of ones have to do with the dreaded bar chord that happens in both sections of this song. And the first of those mistakes, I think, is kind of a practice mistake, not really a performance mistake so much, is that when we get to this bar part, not easy at all. And by that I mean full bar, not the half bar. The half bar is not easy either, but easier than this. This part. Now this is really hard for a beginner for sure. We, as beginners, probably shouldn't be doing full bars until much later, but even if you're intermediate, upper intermediate, or advanced, I mean, bars are never fun, and there's always take a little more attention and maybe a little more pressure, and there's all kinds of strategies we can talk about for that. But my main point with this little mistake here is that I consider this a mistake. You might not, but if you go and it doesn't sound quite right and you just keep squeezing it as hard as you can, and you just do it a million times, that's bad. Don't do that. Don't dwell on that spot, because you're just going to destroy your hand, and you might even destroy your spirit, which we don't want. You're going to have to, when you're learning romanza, listen past the bad part here, just get through it, and you'll get a little bit better every time. But what we don't want to do is dwell on that part so long that we really destroy our hand. You really can hurt yourself that way. And just keep in mind that little by little, we're going to get better at that bar, and some strategies for that might be leaning forward. I'm not sitting in the classical position. This is more of the flamenco folk way to sit. But even in the classical position, you can employ this idea a little bit. I think sitting this way can facilitate this. But if we lean forward a little bit and imagine that we're going to snap the neck off the guitar. If we pulled it this way, the guitar on this end moves. Pull against it, and then now it moves over there. So pull equally with both sides. That can help us apply a little more pressure to the strings, or even a lot more pressure, without squeezing the hell out of it with your thumb, which we don't want to do. The thumb is there not to be squeezing as hard as it can, or even squeezing that much at all. Just there for some guidance, a little bit of support. So I'm leaning into it there. That really helps. In fact, I know a lot of you like to do this with your guitar because you want to get a good view with your eyes there. That's so bad for your wrist and so many things. But if you find that you're banging against the next string, sometimes moving the guitar a little bit under, I'm exaggerating it here, can help us just for the moment of that bar, get the pressure that we need by pulling on it, and also help you get on your fingertip without even trying. If you go like this, I'm blocking that string, and if I go like this with the guitar, moving it like I was just saying, now I'm not blocking it, but I didn't do anything with my middle finger there. So that's a great strategy for bars. That might help you. Now, I can't make a video about romanza and not mention that I teach this whole song step by step, plus tons of other great nylon string stuff, techniques, songs, so much more in the Ultimate Nylon String Guitar Guide, my online course. Check it out below. Another bar mistake for this song, I think, is when we go from the half bar to the full bar. A lot of people do this and take their whole finger off and get to this full bar. I think that's bad. All the sound stops, even for a split second there. Everything goes silent, which we don't want. But think of it more like this. Keep that bar. We already have half of it, right? And let's just smear our fingers across the strings. Hopefully we won't hear that happen when we do it. As you move up, see if you can kind of gain some more strings without losing contact with the strings in that split second that we move. It's really hard to do on the B section in the other direction though, I think, because we're moving to the left if you're right-handed. And we take that finger and kind of smear it across. That's a tough one, but a workaround for that would be you don't have to do a half bar here. You can do a full bar. That's also true on the A section, by the way. And now the bar is taken care of, so that can definitely help. Let's look at the B section where we go up to this high E major chord. See there, I smeared that across, but I wasn't moving to a full bar, but I could go and just get that across. It's a split second thing. And now I've already got the full bar. Or with a half bar. See there, you could even hear a little bit of a slide in there, which I don't think is a mistake. I like the way that sounds. Maybe you think it's a mistake. And then smear that baby. Now here's a mistake that we are absolutely prone to do on all the bar sections, and that is leaving the last note out before you make the transition. If we go back to the A section here, we have the half bar going to the full bar, and what we're doing is this. Okay, but what I hear so many people do, and it's so hard not to do this, is this. I cut the last note out, I don't know if you could tell, but we want to hit every single eighth note triplet that we can, and especially be conscious of the very last note before you have to move somewhere. It's kind of this paradox. We need, whenever we can, to leave early to get wherever we're going, but if we leave early, how are we going to play that last note? So it's really tough. Got to play things slowly. So make sure we hear triplet, 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 and then get to the next note. Side note, you can make a lot of the mistakes that I'm talking about here and never know that you're making those mistakes unless you record yourself. Everybody's got a voice recorder in their pocket now with their phones. Just pick that phone up, record yourself. You don't have to listen to it. In fact, it's better not to listen to it right after. So you can be fresh, listen to it the next day in your car. one of those times when we can kind of practice a little bit without actually being around a guitar. And then you can hear if you're leaving those notes out. When you're in the moment of playing it, it's almost impossible to notice those little things because you're just trying to get through it. So recording yourself and listening back later on and critiquing yourself is a great way to get better. Here's one that's a mistake and not a mistake, and that is playing rest strokes with your ring finger when you're not ready for rest strokes. So like I talked about earlier, we want to bring the melody out. That's going to happen with our ring finger on the first string. So one way to bring that melody note out is to do a rest stroke on it. So we can go, so a rest stroke, free stroke, free stroke. My nails are horrible today, especially my ring finger. So just like before, listen past it. So if you do a rest stroke, it just makes it louder and it'll sustain longer, but then we have to reorient ourselves just a little bit so that we can go into those free strokes. And we also have the issue of doing a rest stroke with the thumb, which is an option. That's a whole other can of worms. But it's not easy to do rest strokes with your ring finger in the middle of doing regular free stroke arpeggios. At least that's been my experience in playing and teaching. So I think it's tempting to do that. Some classical guitar books will tell you to do rest strokes there, and it's great, but not when you're first starting out, and not if you're not used to those, and not if it's going to impede your technique and make you tense and make your technique bad and make your hand, worst of all, make your hand go too high to handle those rest strokes. I would opt for doing free strokes on all three of these treble strings and then work on getting that free stroke loud, because that's something we want to be able to do anyway. We shouldn't have to rely on doing a rest stroke just to get volume. We want to get volume no matter how we strike the string. Now this next one is definitely my subjective opinion, but what I don't like to hear is people perform Romanza too fast like a machine. Now it's great to work on our speed and play very metronomically, follow that metronome, but we don't want to become a robot. But we should strive to be able to play things on time, obviously. That's not what I'm saying here. But what sounds better to you, this? Or maybe this? Now there I combined a few elements that I've been talking about today. I didn't play it too fast, but I didn't play it like a metronome either. I kind of slowed down here and there and sped up along the way, and I varied my volume, and that's the dynamic thing I was talking about. I think it sounds way better that way. Certainly more fun to play that way, and I think absolutely more fun to listen to that way. Now the number one mistake that I see people making with Romanza is not doing variations. Now this might not seem like the end of the world, and if you play Romanza really well, the A section and the B section, that's great. But built into the form of the song are these repeats. We're going to play the A section twice, the B section twice, and then the A section one more time. That's our recap at the end. So if we do that, we shouldn't play the same thing. Like, who wants to hear the same thing exactly the way you played it before? So we can vary it in so many ways. But the interesting thing about Romanza is that it's so uniform. The entire song with the right hand is going, you know, like I've been talking about this whole time, ring, middle, index. It's got the same pattern all the way through, and it's playing on the same strings. For the most part, there's one part in the B section where we switch strings, but by and large, it's these three strings. So that really lends itself to all kinds of variations we can do. It's a huge missed opportunity here if you don't do variations, because it's going to allow us to not only make it more interesting for the listener, so the next time you come around that repeat, you'll do something a little bit different, but it's going to let you work on some techniques without learning anything new at all. So here's the normal way. But you can do block chords, just condense every arpeggio into one block chord stroke. Almost sounds like an entirely new song. It really has the waltzy feel there. That's a great one. You can do virtually any technique you can think of. Tremolo works. And so many others. If you're curious about that, I've got the perfect video for you where I show you 12 ways to play Romanza.